Hey, Mortgage Coach community, Dave Savage, and today I am sitting down with Mr. Pat Stone, the founder and executive chairman of WFG Title. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing real well, David. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, well, thanks for making time. So Pat has been a good friend of mine ever since I moved to Portland. At least once a year, he's made time to have lunch with me, and every time I think you beat me up because I used the word disruption one too many times. And two, I always just walk away with a lot of notes like, oh, I gotta think a little deeper on that. So Pat, thanks for being a mentor and a friend to me. I really appreciate it.
It's mutual. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, hey, you've done a lot in the mortgage space, and I wanted to do this call for executives and leaders in the mortgage coach community. Of course, we've got a lot of the best loan officers and realtors in America that tune in. But if you're watching this and you're a loan officer, you're going to learn some stuff that's valuable at the C-suite, and share this with your leaders and executives because I think it's going to be a great conversation that they're going to want to listen into. So Pat, before I ask you some questions, if you could just tell some of the other business interests that you are involved in, and I mean your story. You could be if there was a Hall of Fame for the real estate and mortgage business, you would be one of the first people. So tell everybody a little bit about what you've done.
Well, you're very kind, David. So I've been in the real estate industry in one form or other for 43 years. WFG actually stands for Williston Financial Group. Williston Financial Group owns a national title insurance company, an underwriter with about 1,400 agents and direct owned operations in 7 Western states, and a national enterprise solutions group. Williston Financial Group also owns an appraisal management company. We do about 10,000 appraisals a month. And we own West, which is a real estate technology company focused on creating a more efficient integration between lenders and their vendors, and also developing products that help realtors and help the consumer have more visibility into the transactions. So those are my principal endeavors with Williston. I'm also an investor in quite a bit of industrial property, and have a partnership with a flipping company. We bought a lot of homes at the courthouse steps in the LA area, a nutrition company, and that keeps me out of my wife's way, Dave.
Yeah, no, you're doing a lot. Well, hey, you've got a great team. I'm actually going to see your CMO Justin Tucker later today, and you guys are doing some interesting things both at the front end. The innovation that you were nominated for with Inman, the front end technology, and how you're really automating things at the front end. And then you're doing a lot in the back end. And of course, Mortgage Coach, we're front end of the mortgage experience to help families make more informed decisions. And depending on how much time here, we may get into some front end stuff, but I want to talk about what's happening in the middle when you think of the mortgage that makes things faster, makes things more profitable. What are some of the trends you see, and what are the things that you think executives should be talking about and thinking about right now?
Well, from a lending point of view, I think the biggest issue, of course, is how do you ensure that you make money? The cost of originating a loan has gone up dramatically. So the biggest opportunity that we've had, and I think where we've made a difference, and where I would really encourage people to look, is integrating between the lender and their vendors. We have a product called West VM that basically allows the lender to order all the vendor services with a push of a button, uploads the information out of the loan origination system, sends the order to the vendors, and when it comes back, it auto-populates the loan origination system. West VM, and we've had this, we've installed it at quite a few fairly substantial lenders. It saves an average of 45 minutes to an hour a transaction, not having to rekey the data. It also eliminates any errors because you're not rekeying the data over and over and over again. So that's been a big win for us and our clients and our partners in terms of saving time and money. I think dashboards, and there's quite a few variations on dashboards out there that allow people to keep track of what's going on in a timely manner, have a quick visual ability to see where they are on transactions, what has to happen next. I think it's more about efficiency and taking time and cost out than anything else right now. There's a lot of bells and whistles that add incremental, have an incremental attraction, if you will, and add a little value. But I think the biggest issue everybody has right now is making sure they can maintain a profitable operation. And you do that by taking time out of the process.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, I don't know if you know this book. I just confirmed the author. Have you heard of this book? Exponential.
Yes.
It's pretty good. I just started reading it. I'm interviewing the author next week. But he talks about dashboards, talks about how we really need to modernize our organization. And for every loan officer listening to that, you notice how Pat talked about, hey, X takes 45 minutes out of the transaction. We all need to be thinking about how do we go from a client's confused to they get clarity till we have a transaction? And how do we make that an amazing experience? How do we make that a faster experience? So at Mortgage Coach, we're obsessed with them going from I'm confused, what loan should I do? Should I rent? Should I buy? Should I move up? To, oh, I'm clear. And then from transaction to funding, you need to get obsessed about how do I take man hours out of it? You know, how do I make it more amazing, and how do I make it more profitable? Pat, I can tell you're getting ready to say something.
Yeah, well, you know, so we talked a little bit about integrating so that the lender can access their vendors in a very automated and efficient manner. The other side of it that's been interesting to us, and you made a reference earlier to a product that we were nominated at Inman for, My Home, and that has been perhaps geared specifically towards realtors, but it also benefits the lender tremendously, because what we're doing is we've basically built a 14-step automated updating process for buyers and sellers on a transaction, where they can download an app on their iPhone and they can follow along on a transaction, and our escrow system automatically updates them 14 times during the transaction. Now, here's where the benefit is. That is 14 phone calls that the loan officer doesn't get, or the realtor doesn't get. And the people are happy because they know what's going on. They're not constantly calling to ask what's going on. They're not constantly calling because they don't understand what comes next. And it's been a real benefit to our realtor and lender clients. And interestingly enough, Dave, it's been an even bigger benefit to us, because what happens is the client comes to closing happy, informed, with very low anxiety. The closing takes half as long. It's always positive, fewer questions, and a happier client. That reflects well on us, but it also gets the realtor and the lender a referral. So it's a win-win-win.
Well, and guys, think about it. You know, it's all about communication. And today, communication, it's different. It's not email and phone call. It's text. It's mobile experience, you know, putting a channel in the hand of the family so that communication is more effective. I mean, it's in effect Uberizing the business. So super smart to you and your team. And again, for all you watching it, that's what we're always focused on when it comes from confusion to clarity, how to make that decision better. So Pat, what do you think is going to happen 2 to 3 years from now? I mean, let's do a quick check. I want to hear your crystal ball in 2020 and in 2021. I don't know that we need to go 5 years out there, but like, what do you think we're going to look back at that date, and what are we going to look back and see in the mortgage space specifically?
Well, there's a couple of drivers here, Dave. Obviously, you and I have talked a lot about technology. I mean, there's the economics. I think at some point in time we will have a recession. Hopefully, it will not be very severe. But I think if I'm sitting here and you're asking me, Pat, what are you planning on? I'm planning on a lot less competitors in the space, a lot less lenders, a lot less realtors, a lot less vendors like title companies around. I'm looking at things where you have more transactions being processed through what we call automated title. We use a filtered system called Decision Point that determines how much time we have to spend looking at a transaction. We have quite a few transactions that require very little, if any, actual man hours on title exams, because they are the same buyer or borrower getting a refi, and there's no public record of any additional liens on the property. So we can automate a lot of the process. I think that's going to increase in terms of its applicability and acceptance. I think you're going to see more desktop appraisal type products come out. I think it'll be carefully used. I'm not sitting here and telling your audience that we're going to be all doing desktop appraisals, but we'll be doing a lot more from an automated point of view and looking at values and making the determination up front where we spend our time and how much time we spend on it. So less competition. I think that's going to be both economically driven and it's going to be driven by acceptance of automation and practical applications like that. I think you're going to see time involved in closing. By 2021, I'll be stunned if the average closing time doesn't drop by at least 25 or 30%. We run, it varies where you are in the country and by type of product, but you're looking at 40 to 45 days on average around the country. I'd say by 2021, if we're not down to 30 days, I'd be very, very, very surprised. And maybe another 10 years down to 20 days. You'll see more application of e-closing. You'll see more remote notary. There's laws being passed in a lot of states to make remote notaries legal. I think most companies are at least looking at e-closings. E-closings are tremendously efficient, save a lot of time and a lot of money. So I think you're going to see, because of the economic pressure everybody feels right now, and because you're seeing some consolidation in the industry, I think you will see a significant change in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. So tell me if you agree with this paradigm. And by the way, like always, like pretend we're having our lunch, and you challenge me. We don't have to be politically correct here, but I look at the job of a loan officer in kind of 4 buckets. And I had a similar conversation to an executive earlier. There's the lead development, call it marketing, generate leads, whether it's referrals or getting the buyer first. And by the way, we're talking mortgage guys here. Then there's the advice piece, mortgage coach, have a trusted advisor conversation, connect emotionally, be more than a rate quoter and app taker. And then there's the transaction, and which typically I think is where most loan officers that do production, they spend a lot of time in that transaction. And then there's client for life. It's like using my database, marketing, building community. It's those 3 buckets. And right now the transaction takes up a lot of time, a lot of man hours, woman hours. And I just see that rapidly contracting. And where the money is lead development, advice, and client for life. And the transaction is really going to get handled. I mean, it's like, if you're a loan officer that just thinks being an app taker and being really good at solving problems, getting loans funded, I mean, it's not a bright future for you. You really got to be great at the other categories. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the people that will ultimately prevail are the people that are good at all categories. I mean, obviously, you've got to be able to leverage your time to touch as many potential clients as you can. I think that everybody in this industry depends to a large degree on referrals. So you got to do a good job for the people you touch. Really, David, if you look at it right now, I would say if you take out the top 10 lenders, about 65% of everything is manual. And this is just, it's absolutely absurd how manual our industry is. And people, I've been on some panels at various conferences, and they'll say, well, how come our industry is so far behind technologically? It's not behind technologically. The problem is that we've had very little integration between all the players in the industry. We are all regulated separately. Realtors are regulated separately from lenders, from the vendors, and then your regulation varies by state. So it's not easy to integrate everything, and it's not easy to get cooperation. But I think a smart loan officer, a smart lending executive, a smart title executive, a smart realtor executive is looking for ways to maximize their time and the ability to automate enough so that you can spend time at the front end getting clients and still do a quality job so you get a referral on the back end. Those are the people that will win.
And by the way, that brings up a good point where tell me if you agree with this. I believe that the best players out there are going to be the best integrators, that take best of breed players like us, like you, and invest in doing that. So like this whole build versus buy, where it's like, oh, I'm a lender or a real estate company, no names being mentioned, and I'm going to be a technology, I'm going to create software. By the way, maybe someone can do that, but 99.9% of the lenders, where you really need to differentiate is being an integrator and being masterful at it, and don't pick companies that don't have the best integrations. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think if you're making a living selling technology, then you ought to innovate and build technology. If you're making a living being a title company, you should be issuing title insurance and closing transactions. If you're making a living as a lender, you should be making loans. It's a real mistake. Your ability to automate and use technology effective is not dependent on your developing that technology yourself. Now, you may take certain technological applications, combine them, or modify them for a specific usage, and that is okay. But getting into the technology development business, I think, is a real mistake unless you see a particular need that has to be solved. But developing, the idea of developing a significant amount of technology in order to create differentiation, I think, is a mistake. If you're not selling that for a living, don't do it, because it will take your time, your money, and you're not guaranteed a success. I think you could go out there, if you're a lender, a realtor, a settlement agent, any sort of vendor in the real estate process, you can go out there and find there's a multitude of high quality technology. You may put time and effort into integrations between different systems. You may do some modifications, but I don't think you have to get into the development business.
Yeah, agreed. What about, how important is it for the local lender? And I said local, so we're not talking consumer direct. We're talking, I'm a local mortgage professional and lender, to make this digital transition. And again, I've been leading this charge on, you need to make the transition by 2020, because, while the rocket blasted off a couple of years ago, and, I go to the MBA, go to MBA Tech, go to digital mortgage, and pretty much everybody's building that digital front end. But I think if you haven't really made that transition by 2020, I think you're way behind it. What are your thoughts?
I would, if I may, I think you're right, but I wouldn't say necessarily 2020. I would say by the next significant downturn, whenever that occurs. I think a lot of people think that'll be 2020. We'll see. But I do believe that if you're going to be a player during the downturn and afterwards, then you have to have maximum efficiency. The cost structure, the pricing, and everything is not going to allow a paper-intensive manual environment going forward. I think we're already feeling, everybody in the industry is already feeling the pressure of having to do more because of compliance and other issues, so that they need to use technology to save time and create efficiencies. If you're paper-based, you will not be a player post next recession. You will not. Whether that's 2020, 2021, or even earlier, we don't know. But I think you need to be, you better be technologically enabled. And it's really a funny thing here, because what we're really talking about is using technology to save time and eliminate cost. I think everybody that listens to your program, that will resonate with them, because time and cost are the game, right? If you can take time and cost out of the process, you win. If you don't, you lose. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, and I like that. So I got one last question. And by the way, mortgage coach community, hopefully we get Pat back again at some point. So if you do have a question, post it down below. This will be in our YouTube channel. Post a question for Pat, and I'll see if I can get him back. If this is in Facebook, put a question down below. But here's the challenge. And if you could really speak to both management and to the trenches when you answer this. But most people in this industry are 50 or above. And so making that digital transformation is tough. So what are some of the thoughts you have for executives to help their sales forces make the digital transformation, adopt technology faster? And I'm not expecting a magic pill.
Well, I'll share my own experiences and what's worked for me in my business. Was an investor in a fairly significant mortgage company and in the title industry, appraisal, everything else. I'll tell you one thing that has worked for me over and over and over to get people of all ages to embrace technology, and that is, do you want to make more money? You know, I mean, do you want to make more money or not? If you want to make more money, what do you need to make more money? Well, what you need is you need to have time, right? Typically is I don't have enough time. I'm working 50 hours a week. How do I make more money? You make more money by using your time more efficiently. How do you use your time more efficiently? You use technology to free up time. You may use technology to leverage your skills. You use technology to have a broader footprint. Technology is not your enemy. It is a tool. It won't make you irrelevant. It'll make you effective. And as a manager, what you need to tell your people is, look, I want you to make more money. The way you make more money is you do more loans, you sell more property, you close more deals. And the way you do that is you use technology to save yourself time. So if you go down that route, then people can see that there's a self-interest. You're not making them irrelevant. You're not trying to replace them. Hey, I tell my people all the time, and I tell my clients the same thing. You make more money, I make more money, right? I want you to make more money because you make more money, I make more money. And so it's all about saving time, and technology is a tool. It is not your enemy. It is a tool to make more money.
Love that. And by the way, I'm going to put a couple other resources. I'm going to put a link down below to the lead conversion playbook. It goes through a lot of tactics that will save you time, help you win more loans. And then also, I recently did an interview with Tim Brahim on the perfect loan process. I'm going to put a link down below on that. Pat, I want to make sure that if people want to check out more on your company, if they want to, you mentioned your app, what would be a link? What would be a place for them to go find more about you?
West.com. West stands for Williston Enterprise Solutions Technology. That's our subsidiary. You can go to WFG National Title. You can go to Powered by West or West.com. And you can check it out. But WFG National Title gets you and West, W-E-S-T. Those are the two.
And I'll put a down below. I'll actually give you top billing. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a description. Pat's link will be at the top. A couple other resources that I think will help you make the digital transformation. I mean, at Mortgage Coach, we're dedicated to helping you at the point of sale deliver rates and fees with graphs and charts on mobile devices. And Pat and his crew, they're dedicated to just helping you get the services that they provide faster, more effectively, and drive your profits.
And make more money. We want you to make more money.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny, Pat? We created this ROI analysis. And when we first created it, it was like at the C-suite, like executives, look at our ROI and look at how, you make more money with us. But what we've really turned it into, it's like a training tool. Like when we meet with loan officers to roll it out, it's like they don't realize just how much loans they're losing in conversion. So we gave them this. It's part of how we onboard people is help them do their own ROI analysis because they just don't do it, Pat, any final words of wisdom for the Mortgage Coach community before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think if I can share something with you, and I think I mentioned you. I just came back from a luncheon in which Jamie Dimon spoke, and I think everybody at the lunch was concerned about when the good times end. I will tell you this, and I mean this very sincerely. I do not think that our segment of the economy, real estate and real estate related services, will be impacted anywhere near as negatively as we were in the last downturn. We won't be blamed for it. We won't be the alleged cause of it. So I think if you're sitting out there and you're worried about where you're going, get really focused on becoming more efficient. Get really focused on using technology to make more money. Put yourself in a position where you can easily withstand the next downturn and come out of that downturn ready to own the world. There's a tremendous opportunity. I tell my kids this, and I'll tell your audience this. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every challenge is an opportunity. It's an opportunity if all you do is look at it differently than your competitors. So embrace technology as a tool that makes you more efficient, makes you more money, and you win.
I love that. I hope you all got value from this. If you liked it, like it, whether you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, give us a like. And please share this with your executive team. Pat and I did this to bring leadership, bring ideas, and just start a conversation. If you have questions, let us know what they are. Pat, grateful for your time, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you too.
Bye-bye.